So I'm Bobby Apodaca, and I lived in Jonesborough for going on 5 years in September. I'm a Southern California native. Lived there my whole life, born and raised. But when I was about 20, just into college, I came to visit some friends of mine from Nashville, my old youth pastor from church, and stayed here for like maybe a week, 10 days, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. It was nice to experience winter for the first time in my life. The people were super friendly. Just threw me off guard coming from a state that's kind of a big tourist attraction, but the people aren't always so friendly. I grew up in the suburbs, so kind of avoided big city. Wasn't really for me. Didn't really, like visiting, like seeing certain attractions here and there, but always wanted to have some kind of country life. Not really sure why, just was kind of drawn to that. That was my dream for 20 years and thought it was gonna be a dream forever, and then the opportunity presented itself with my job and being able to work remote, have a position where I don't need to be in an office, and we relocated and we haven't looked back. I was born in a city called West Covina, so it's about 30 minutes east of LA. And I stayed in that general area, a couple different cities here and there. Moved out to the next county over, San Bernardino. That's where we last lived. I actually met my wife in 8th grade when we were like 12, 13 years old. Never talked, different circles, different groups. 15, 16 years later, friend's birthday party of hers and my local hangout spot, and we just ran into each other, and things just kind of went from there, and we ended up rekindling and reconnecting and getting together. So my wife, very different cultural background than me. We're both Latino, but I'm what people say, like, whitewashed. My family, my immediate family and extended family, like, we don't speak Spanish. We don't have traditional Latino gatherings or anything like that. We're just, I guess, a stereotypical American, I guess, how the rest of the world would kind of see it. But my wife comes from a very strong cultural background. She's half Mexican, half Salvadorian. My in-laws, they get together every Sunday. I'm on her dad's side, and you got like 50, 60 people with all the aunts and uncles and kids, and people just come and go, and they're like every Sunday, like clockwork, they get together. And so she was hesitant coming out here, never visiting, never really leaving California other than to visit El Salvador when she was a kid, and visiting Mexico occasionally, near California, so it wasn't too different. So she was very hesitant, and of certain stereotypes, being that it's the South, and but yeah, she immediately fell in love with it. Just the friendliness just really took us by surprise about how welcoming everybody is. And church has been, I think, the biggest, because it had the biggest positive impact, especially on my wife, just feeling accepted and having people genuinely care and just kind of help with some of those situations and loneliness and feelings of longing, I guess, to belong, and having people that aren't family make you feel like family. So I have 7 kids. Our oldest is in California because she's gonna be 20 this year, so she moved back home. The other 6, one's a newborn, and then from 10 down. So when we were in California, just going to dinner was a hassle. Right, you got 3 kids under 5. Kids are kids. They want to explore. They want to look over booths. They want to be loud. They don't know how to regulate their emotions and behaviors. Other patrons would not always be happy, right, with a baby crying and different things. So we've had some bad experiences eating out. We had one time someone told my wife to stick a bottle in one of my kids' mouths when we were at like Walmart or something. This is several years ago. And so things like that have happened to us. And when we moved here, that was one of the biggest things, is that every time we would go out, again, having so many little kids at once, everybody would just be so kind to the kids and always offering, can we give them this, can we give them that? Like,
would you consider yourself a Jonesboroughian?
I definitely think we identify more with Jonesborough than Johnson City or Kingsport. So I guess overall, I would say yeah. But I do like to do things. I'm a night owl, so that was another big culture shock for me, is there's obviously no nightlife here. Not that I go out a lot or anything. Obviously I have kids, but it's nice to be able to, for me, since I work a weird schedule, so my work schedule aligns with California time, with Pacific time zone. So I don't get off work early like most people around here. Sometimes we'll work till 7, 8, 9 o'clock, just depending on what I got going on. Leaving at 8 o'clock to go get dinner sometimes, it's hard, right? Now you got to go to Johnson City. And then there's times even like 9 and 10 o'clock, we don't like to do that, but it happens with us just with my work schedule. And having so many kids, just having so many activities sometimes and stuff. So that was definitely, things like that are a little bit different, and that there's limited options. Again, coming from California, a city, a state of convenience, that's another culture shock. So that's something definitely that we've had to find a balance of convenience versus just the calm and peace that comes with being here. So, but I think that calm and peace definitely outweighs a lot of the other stuff that doesn't really matter. It's definitely small town USA. Not the negative stereotypes like we talked about earlier, but those positive ones where it's just super friendly. It really reminds me of shows like Leave It to Beaver and the Andy Griffith Show, the shows that my parents grew up, that I grew up with, watching reruns where, it was a wholesome time. The Wonder Years, things like that, where in California we lived in a condo, townhouse, whatever, shared building, shared front yard, and we wouldn't let our kids outside. It was too dangerous or risky. And again, they were much smaller, but even if they were the same age, I wouldn't want them outside by themselves with us inside the house. Now I feel comfortable. My next door neighbor is a sheriff for Washington County. Neighbor down the street's a Jonesborough police officer. And then again, we've met several of the neighbors. Some of our neighbors are teachers, and they work for the, for the city or the local schools. And other neighbors, we just all kind of help each other, and they're all super friendly. Didn't have that in California. And so we're comfortable letting the kids run around. I think the most dangerous thing we've had is we had our first snake encounter a couple months ago, which was frightening for us, and we found out it was a harmless snake, but the kids were in the trampoline, freaked out. And then there have been bear sightings the last few weeks in the area, and so one of the days it was literally down the street in one of the neighbors' front yards, and so that's been the most dangerous thing. And so I think that is something that I would share. That's the kind of neighborhood and community that you get when you move here. Is the most dangerous thing is the wildlife, and it's not even that dangerous. Most of the time it's deers and rabbits and the woodchucks or whatever you see around town. It's a tight-knit community, but you still have diversity that you wouldn't expect. Like I said, some of those negative stereotypes that get put on small towns like Jonesborough. But it's nice to see that even amongst diverse opinions and differing opinions, that there's still camaraderie and community and friendliness and ability to look past certain things and just kind of let people do what they do. Even if you don't agree with certain choices or lifestyles, that people still are friendly and can look beyond that. But with this influx of transplants and people moving from out of state, and a lot of farm development getting turned into housing communities, and them trying to maximize those communities, instead of a house, you have now multi-unit apartments. You're bringing in an influx of people that I don't think the infrastructure is going to be able to handle. And I do think a lot of people are right to have some fears. But that's one of the things I hope for Jonesborough, that the people that are in charge start to take a step back and realize that although you need certain things, you don't want to destroy the community that has been here, right? You don't want to destroy the thing that makes Jonesborough and attracts people here. But at the same time, the community needs to be understanding that things change, and they're always going to change, they're always going to evolve, and you have to have some level of acceptance to be, if you want your community to survive, certain things are going to have to change.